Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to focus on Sun Summit Minerals. For those of you new to the story, we are British Columbia based. We have two projects in central BC and north central BC. Cautionary notes about forward-looking statements. Please do your own due diligence. So as mentioned, we are focused on British Columbia, which is a fantastic jurisdiction in terms of known mineral deposits, as well as a transparent permitting process. We have the two projects. One is our flagship is the Buck project in central BC. So that's a gold, silver, zinc project. We're putting an initial mineral resource on it. And then as well, there's copper potential for a project that we amalgamated into Buck. We purchased that off of Teck Resources, and that's a copper project. The project that we recently optioned is in the Toodoggone region. So this is the JD project. It's a high-grade gold and silver target with copper porphyry potential. So that option was just finalized early February, so it's fairly new. Both of our projects have existing infrastructure. They're in emerging regions with known deposits, formerly producing mines, and active exploration. We do have a pretty strong value creation strategy. We've done some rejigging of the strategy in order to build shareholder wealth and return some of that shareholder wealth. 2023 was a difficult year, and so we made some decisions in terms of optioning the JD project. So in terms of value drivers, we're going to rapidly advance rapidly advance the targets in the JD project through exploration this summer, including drilling. At the Buck project, we're going to be putting some kind of tangible value on the existing assets at Buck Main. And so that will move us past this early exploration play, really put us in line from these mid-tiers and majors. And then as well, we have a lot of grassroots targets that we could advance. And then so that would be exploration and discovery potential. I'll start off with our Buck project. So we've had this since 2019. We're in the last year of our option agreement. We've been exploring here mostly at the Buck Main target. This is an area that has seen previous exploration. It's more of a bulk tonnage style system, and so it's more low to moderate grade, 0.5 gram to 1 gram per ton gold. But we have 52,000 hectares in this region that's road accessible. We are essentially town-based, so we stay in the town of Houston, drive right to the drill rig, so we can explore year-round. The geologic analog we're using for Buck Main is the Blackwater Gold Project, and so that's just to the southeast. That was recently granted, last year was granted its mine permit, which is pretty fantastic in British Columbia that mines are getting permitted, especially bulk tonnage style, low to moderate grade mines, so that's really fantastic news. A lot of previously producing mines, for example, Equity Silver Mine to the east, Huckleberry Copper Mine to the southwest. So this whole area has seen quite a lot of exploration. The infrastructure I mentioned is quite fantastic, and so that helps to keep exploration costs low. This is a very great project in terms of low cost, high reward. The project was explored a lot in the 80s, and of course the price of gold was much lower, so this kind of bulk tonnage system wouldn't have been economic. But given the price of gold where it is now, as well as the existing infrastructure, this really sets the project apart. So I mentioned it had seen some previous exploration. We've drilled 98 drill holes for just over 35,000 meters. I mentioned this is kind of a low to moderate grade. So what we're seeing here is a lot of disseminated mineralization throughout the more porous rocks. So it's not necessarily vein hosted. What you need here is size and scale in order to make it economic, and we are seeing that. We're over 1 kilometer strike length. It's open along strike at depth. And especially to the northwest, we're seeing quite a lot of expansion potential. So every time we drill, we find more mineralization. The grades that we're seeing here, we're seeing 100, 200 meters of 0.5 gram, 0.6, 0.7 gram per ton gold. So this is right from surface, it's continuous. I'll just skip to the next slide here where you can get a sense of the top view there is a plan view, and then the bottom is a section view. You can see it is right from surface, it's continuous, and so this kind of size and scale is what you're looking for these types of deposits. We are putting an initial mineral resource estimate on Buck Main. We've been drilling here for 4 years. I mentioned 98 drill holes for 35,000 meters. So the point of putting the resource on is not necessarily to get the final number of what the value is here, but we're finding that if we put some kind of valuation on the project, that will move us past the early exploration stage, could put us in front of a lot of mid-tiers and majors in terms of transactions, for example. We really feel that there is some value here at Buck Main. The market necessarily hasn't been seeing that, but with a lot of companies, they're in the same boat in terms of being undervalued for their assets. So we think it was a good time to pull the trigger on an initial resource. I mentioned it's still open in all directions, and so there's definite upside potential here, which could trigger an update on the resource estimate. We're expecting that resource out very shortly, so we said this quarter, it could be maybe April, but it is coming very shortly. So I mentioned the project that we picked up with the copper potential. This is CR, which we've amalgamated into the Buck project, so 52,000 hectares there. This has seen some previous drilling with Teck Resources, as well as Manson Creek. And so if you look, the CR South zone, that's where there's been historic drilling, 68 meters at 0.5% of copper, 160 meters of 0.35% copper. So some pretty impressive grades similar to the Huckleberry copper mine, which is to the southwest. All the holes that Teck did ended at about 300 meters. They didn't drill beyond that, and so a lot of holes did end in mineralization. We've done some surface field exploration last summer. We found a new zone of copper mineralization to the southeast of the porphyry. For example, 1% of copper, 0.94% copper. So this area has never before been drill tested, so this is an area we'd like to return to, drill a few holes into the porphyry as well as some additional areas. So the Buck project is definitely one that we've been working on and feel strongly about. But I'll switch gears to the new project that we just optioned. This is the JD project. It's located in the Toodoggone. For those who are unfamiliar, it's just to the east of the Golden Triangle. However, very similar rocks, same age of rocks, same geochemistry, and so you're seeing quite a lot of similar copper-gold deposits that you are seeing in the Golden Triangle. So this area is actually termed the Golden Horseshoe. I think it's more than just a marketing term. I think this is, as a geologist, we are seeing some similarities in the types of deposits and the styles of mineralization that you are seeing. The Toodoggone is has less aggressive terrain, and as well it's less explored. And so there's quite a lot of potential here just because it hasn't seen the drill bit as much as Golden Triangle has, for example. Zooming in on the project, we have 15,000 hectares. You can see in the center there. We're just north of the Kemess, copper gold previously producing mine. That's Centerra. They're currently developing their Kemess North and Kemess East deposits. There's other big players in the area. We have HDI Amark. Their Joy district is copper-based. Lawyers and Ranch gold systems are there as well. And so Thesis Gold and Benchmark recently merged. That was last year. So we're just east of those projects. We're just west of TDG Gold. And so currently they have the Baker and Shasta previously producing mines. So those are existing deposits. So this whole belt really is hundreds of kilometers of prospective rocks in a known copper-gold belt. In terms of infrastructure, all the infrastructure is still in place for the Kemess mine. So that includes an all-weather access road. We still have a hydroelectric grid, so that brings green energy to the region. As well, it has a mill. And so that's very important in terms of forward-facing utilities and processing if there would be mines getting developed in this area. The road goes north towards the sturdy airstrip, so that can accommodate planes from Smithers, Terrace, and Prince George. And then the road continues up. It actually goes through our property. And so it is road accessible. We would say for the first year, we'd be looking at mostly a summer-based program. However, companies like Thesis have drilled in the winter. Last year, they drilled January, February, so it's definitely possible. First year, we're thinking our program would be mostly helicopter-based, but then after that, we could develop a camp. So we have two styles of mineralization at the JD project. The most advanced targets are the epithermal gold and silver. So I'll be focusing on the Finn and the Creek zones in terms of where most of the historic drilling has been done. We have also copper porphyry potential. And so these are, there's been quite a lot of historic exploration. And so we're doing the exercise now of compiling all of this data. A lot of it has never before been digital. And so really just PDF maps, hand-drawn maps. A lot of the surface sampling and trenching has never before been digitized and put into computer models and GIS systems. And so this is definitely opening a lot of interesting targets up. That this is the first modern attempt really in doing this for the project. The Finn and the Creek zone I mentioned is where it's seen most of the exploration. And this is a whole belt, about 3 kilometers of strong gold and silver potential. Starting off at the Finn zone, this is where a lot of the previous drilling has been done. We're seeing some pretty impressive grades, 35 meters at 7 grams, with 20 meters at 10, 11, 12 gram per ton gold. We're also seeing some smaller intercepts, 215, 170 gram per ton gold. So these smaller vein-hosted type results are held within broader, still high-grade intercepts. Looking at a section at Finn, it's still open. It's definitely open along strike, down dip, and then in the footwall itself, it's a structurally controlled system. And so we're seeing quite a lot of expansion potential here. So in the first year, we are planning to do a pretty aggressive step-out drill program at the Finn zone. The Creek zone, that's the system that's about 3 kilometers to the west. This has only seen about 20 drill holes, and so it's still pretty open. Quite a lot of high grade that we're seeing here as well. I'll skip to the section as well. What's key here is these holes have only been selectively sampled. So in the 80s and 90s, mostly these holes are from 1997. They only selectively sampled. So we're missing quite a lot of potential grade here just from not assaying the entire hole. So we're planning some step-out drilling here, as well as get a better handle on the controls and styles of mineralization. The corridor between the Finn and the Creek zone, that's about 3 kilometers, very little drilling, but pretty extraordinary surface samples. If we look at the soil samples on the top, you can see grades up to 5, 6, 7.5 gram per ton gold in soils, which is pretty astounding as a geologist. Normally these are in parts per billion, not parts per million. And then in addition, really great rock sample results, 35 gram per ton gold, 17, 18, 15 gram per ton gold. And so part of the work that we'd be doing this summer is surface sampling, mapping, and prospecting in this area, which really could be an area play if we could connect the Finn and the Creek zones. I mentioned porphyry potential. So in 2012, our technical advisor actually was working for a different operator. They drilled a bit deeper at the Finn zone, and they actually intersected 1.5 meters of close to 0.5% of copper. This was only at 230 meters, so not very deep. In addition, they did some surface sampling and found 1.5%, 1.3% copper in surface samples in the McClare area. So the porphyry potential, it's more grassroots targets. However, we'll be working to advance these to the drill-ready stage as well. So the JD project, we really feel strongly that it's worth aggressively pursuing. It has the scale. So between Finn and Creek, it's really underexplored and has a lot of expansion potential. The grade, it's very high. We have a lot of high potential drill targets, as well as that intermittent sampling really leads to a lot of instant grade just through continuous sampling. The district is emerging. It's seen a lot of infrastructure development in recent years, so it's a lot more accessible than it has been in the past. And then in terms of the team, we have a pretty strong technical team with a lot of BC experience, especially our technical advisor who actually has been on the property in the past. So as part of the option agreement with JD, we recently completed a 3-to-1 share consolidation. So we're currently sitting at about 35 million shares outstanding, so we have a pretty tight share structure, 47 million fully diluted. We're currently at about a this slide's a bit old, about 4 million market cap. And so, and then we're trading at about 10 cents. We have just under $1 million now in the bank. So at some point, we will be going back to the market to raise for some of this exploration that we're going to be doing at JD and Buck. So catalysts for JD, definitely finish our data compilation to plan a pretty robust exploration program for this year, and we're going to be hitting it pretty hard. At least 2 drill rigs, some pretty definitive drill targets at Finn and Creek, as well as advancing some of these targets to drill ready stage in between the Finn and the Creek zones. The Buck project I mentioned, we do have that initial mineral resource estimate going to be coming out shortly, and that will give us a solid valuation of that project. And then as well, we have additional targets that we'd like to drill at Buck, especially the copper. So we have these 2 projects, great jurisdiction, existing infrastructure, epithermal gold, silver, as well as copper potential. We definitely have a strong technical team and management team, and we do have access to capital. I'm president. We have our executive chairman, Brian Locke. He's been a director for 12 years. Previous CEO, Bob Willis, is now senior advisor. And so we have quite a lot of shareholders who've been with the company for quite a many years and feel strongly about the company and are pretty solid supporters. And that's about it. Thank you. Any questions?